What's up, internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. It is Thursday, September 5th, day number 52 inside the Big Brother house. It is eviction day. Where do the votes lie? Let's talk about that, plus all the intel drama and more from yesterday's live feeds. But first, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit the notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Speaking of, we will be live tonight doing a watch along for the episode, so you're not going to want to miss all the reactions to the eviction. We're also going to be live tomorrow morning for our update. We go live every Friday, giving the same live feed update you get every morning on this channel. But afterwards, we jump into the chat and have a little fun talking about what you guys are thinking about this season. To give you guys a little bit of a recap, if you haven't been keeping up this week, Quinn won HOH, Angela, Chemo, and Rubina, his original nominees, his target being Angela, but Leah wins the power of veto, using it on Angela despite Quinn's desperate pleas for her not to. He put up Joseph as his replacement nominee. Most of that we saw play out on last night's episode, and not too much else of note to talk about on the episode last night. Except for the fun edit of Angela saying to Quinn, like, I don't call people names, only for BB to pull up the receipts of her name calling other people in the house. And then I also really found the Chelsea diary room after the nominations, where she said that Quinn got most of his original nominees right with Quinn, Chemo, Rubina, but it should have also been T-Core up there as well. So again, really interesting to see how much T-Core is just desperately trying to work and protect Chelsea. Meanwhile, Chelsea is not doing the same for her. Now, let's jump into the live feeds from yesterday, how everything's kind of going over, where the votes are kind of situating. Speaking of T-Core, she was working on MJ, or, well, rather, should I say MJ was talking to T-Core about, how would you handle it if Chemo is the target this week? T-Core obviously realizing this was no good. Starts telling MJ how Joseph was throwing MJ and Chelsea under the bus as renom options this week. How if Chemo stays, he's a numbers for the Women's Alliance, so it would be more 7-2 that as opposed to 6-3. And then just goes on and on about how great MJ is, how proud she should be of how she's played this game and surviving and sticking it through, how she's just the bestest person ever, and blah, 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 blah. Basically, MJ walks away from this conversation believing her own hype as Dr. MJ Kirby saying to the camera after T-Core left that she had the whole house wrapped around her finger. She also had a conversation with Angela, and it seemed like Angela's actually leaning towards Joseph as who she would like to see goes this week. But MJ was telling her, like, he's played the worst game. Like, he's just hiding behind people. Like, he's not really that much of a threat when you think about it. And funny enough, MJ then chatted later with Chemo, who was making his rounds trying to work up the vote. And she talked about how she wants to see Angela go next week. But MJ also tells him, like, I want you to stay, Chemo, right? Like, you'd be a good jury member, right? You'd be great. And then I think the house is leaning towards Joseph, so you should be okay. But I think she's just kind of telling him what he wants to hear at this point. Chemo was, again, like I said, working on the votes. He had conversations with Leah and Cam as well, but no real solid movement from what I could tell in those conversations, just more of them kind of telling him what he wants to hear. Chelsea does, though, seem to want to keep Rubina over Joseph. In her chat with MJ, she was talking about how, Rubina wouldn't put either of them up, but she thinks it might be tough to pull off with the votes and how the rest of the house is situated. Quinn ended up joining them, and they were kind of talking about, like, they're not sure, with the vote. And he said, honestly, I have no reason for Chemo to be gone, right? Like, I don't have any desire for that to be the outcome. So if that, whatever you guys want to do, like, I'm cool with it. I don't think he really actually realized they were talking about Joseph as a possible option with him against Rubina. Now, Chelsea later filled in T-Core that she thinks Quinn and Leah are desperately trying to keep Joseph. So still nurturing that relationship. Chelsea kind of waters the flower every so often that is T-Core to make sure she still has her fully misted in that situation. But definitely filling her in and laying those seeds in there as well. And then later on, we actually did finally get the meeting that Quinn kind of wanted the night before. If you guys remember, Rubina and T-Core were sitting outside of the HOH room. Eventually, even Chemo joined. They were like, this is getting weird that all four of them are in there. If MJ joins them, then it's even more weird. And then MJ came up, and it was a whole thing. MJ, Leah, Chelsea, Cam, and Quinn all met up in the HOH room. And while they didn't necessarily like lock down an actual alliance that I was really able to pull from this conversation, they did talk about locking in the vote, pretty much coming to the conclusion that Chemo or Rubina kind of have to go. They just will save each other in the trio with T-Core, and that's too much of a threat. Between Chemo and Rubina, it would be Chemo over Rubina in that situation. And then they were talking about what would happen if it was Rubina versus Joseph. MJ and Chelsea pushed back on the idea that Joseph should stay over Rubina. Cam didn't help the matters much when he was saying, yeah, you know what, you guys are probably right. Joseph probably would put you guys up on the block. But they were kind of going over it. There were lots of different reasons why, especially MJ and Chelsea had concerns about Joseph over Rubina, whereas other people in the room, like Leah and Quinn and even Cam, would probably prefer Joseph to stay over Rubina at this point as well. So it was kind of a little bit of a back and forth. They kind of debated that around. Not necessarily a definitive answer, but it does seem like, they kind of ended on everybody in the room agrees that, it should be Joseph to stay. Chemo definitely would be going in almost all scenarios, whereas that Joseph and Rubina one could be a little bit more interesting. We'll get into that in just a second, more about the actual vote breakdown of how I think things might go. But before that, another interesting thing happened last night on the feeds. We had some AI messages from former evicted house guests, but I believe also other house guests as well were kind of mixed in. I know Fessy was talked about at one point. I believe Pooch was mentioned at one point as well. So lots of little like BB Easter eggs and stuff were being put in there for them. I would assume for the HOH competition tonight, but we'll see how that all kind of plays out. They were kind of trying to memorize and remember everything that the message were saying. There may be even more messages to come, but I stopped counting after 40. So I think that's about how many there were. It was a lot and very short little messages, so a lot for them to try and remember for the competition. Lots of little like group study sessions were going on, and T-Core actually even brought out a little like table with Q-tips, and she was kind of laying them out, trying to memorize the different messages for this competition as well. Let's talk though about the votes for tonight. So we'll bring up our allegiance map, which I haven't really changed too much as of yet. This is kind of still how I see the house at the moment. And in the situation where Rubina or Chemo were to come off the block, let's just talk about the easiest one, I guess. Rubina versus Chemo. Pretty much is a guarantee that if it is Rubina versus Chemo, Chemo will be leaving. I would say probably 6-1. Only T-Core maybe giving Chemo kind of a sympathy vote on the way out. If it ended up being Chemo versus Joseph, I think it would end up being 5-2 with only T-Core and Rubina, since Rubina would be off the block. She would have the chance to vote then. I think that would be a situation where you might see like a 5-2 with Chelsea, Cam, MJ, Joseph, and even Angela all going for Chemo to be evicted. Now, if it's Rubina versus Joseph, this is where it could get kind of interesting. Potentially, we could be looking at another 5-2 vote if they pull Angela on over. And it's just kind of a repeat of if it was Chemo versus Joseph. where you would have Chelsea, Cam, MJ, Leah, and Angela all voting for Rubina to be evicted over Joseph. It could potentially maybe even be 4-3 because they were talking about Angela wanting Joseph out over Rubina. So that could be even a situation. Or even another crazy option is if Chelsea and MJ decide, you know what? It is just better for us if Joseph goes. We could see a potential flip of that where it could be a 5-2 for Joseph to leave with only Leah and Cam being the ones to vote for Joseph to stay. Or they could even get them on board and we could see a 7-0 for Joseph. Those are not out of the realm of possibilities, especially with the rest of today to talk about the vote before the actual eviction. You never know with these house guests. They're very indecisive about a lot of their decisions. But I think the most likely scenarios that we have going into the night, Chemo versus Rubina, 6-1. Maybe T-Core keeps Chemo as a sympathy vote. Chemo versus Joseph, 5-2. Only T-Core and Rubina keeping Chemo in that scenario. And then Joseph versus Rubina, maybe 5-2, maybe a 4-3, potentially even a 7-0, with those last two potentially being flips on Joseph leaving this week. But if I had to guess, I think it would be Rubina who would end up walking out, just because there's too many other people in their groups that they're with for Chelsea and MJ to flip on that right now. It seems like they'd be more inclined to go with the numbers in the house than flipping that. But again, the flip culture in this house is very open, and it seems like there could potentially be that option as well. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. What do you think of the potential voting options? Where do you think the vote will actually lie? Also, who do you want to see win AI Arena, and who do you want to see be evicted? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys again so much for watching. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Like I said, we will be live here tonight doing our watch party for the live eviction. So make sure you come on out, hang out with the chat. It's always a good time. We'll also be live tomorrow morning for our update, where again, you get this same update that you do every single morning, but we happen to chat and it's a lot of fun. We'll be talking about who won HOH, what happened on the eviction last night. We'll also probably mention things like the Challenge 40. Maybe we'll even jump into some of the Survivor cast. We've got plenty of time. We usually go for about 2 hours on Friday morning, so come on out for that if you're around. Thank you guys all again so much for watching, and I will see you tonight.
First one. First, pizza lady, 9 pizzas. Second, pooch. Third, Lisa. Fourth, baby, scary lady. 5 is, fuzzy, 50. 6.